All right, in this video we are going to talk about the law of sines. So the law of sines can be used to solve oblique triangles. So an oblique triangle is a triangle that is not a right triangle. And remember what solving a triangle means. It means finding the measures of all three angles and all three sides. Okay, so in this section, we are going to label the triangles in kind of a standard way. So unless otherwise specified, we'll label it the following way. We'll have the three angles, capital A, a capital B, and a capital C. All right, and then the side across from that angle will be labeled with the lowercase version of that letter. So the side across from angle A will be labeled with a lowercase a. The side across from angle B will be labeled with a lowercase b. And the side across from angle C will be labeled with a lowercase c. And so when I'm talking about an angle, I'll just say angle A, angle B, or angle C. When I'm talking about a side, I'll just say A, B, or C. Okay, because this is how Newton labels in the Newton problems. They label the angles, and so sometimes it's kind of a pain because having to distinguish between the capital A and little a. But this is fine. One other thing to note about these triangles is that they are not drawn to scale. Okay, so whenever you're working these problems, sometimes they'll draw the triangle for you. Other times they'll just give you, the measure of angle A and angle B, and then one of the sides. So you'll have to remember, how this scheme works. All right, but for all of the problems that we work, we'll just assume that the triangles are labeled this way, unless otherwise noted. All right, so finally to the law of sines. The law of sines says that the sine of angle A over A, the side A, is equal to the sine of angle B over B, and those two are also equal to the sine of angle C over C. All right, so if you pick any one of these angles, let's say angle A, take the sine of that angle, and then divide by the side length, the length of the side opposite that angle, that ratio is going to be the same, right, for any of these angle side pairs. Okay. All right, so this is the law of sines. All right, and to use the law of sines, there's going to be three different cases that we are going to look at. The first one is the angle side angle case. All right, and so this is the case where you have to solve an oblique triangle and you're given two angles and the side in between the angle, okay, in between the two angles. Then you can use the law of sines. You also would use the law of sines in the case that you're given two angles and the side that's not in between the two angles. That would be this case, right? When you have the side in between the two angles. If you're given two angles and a side that's not in between those, then you can also use the law of sines, because essentially it kind of boils down to this case anyway. And the third case is when you're given two sides and an angle. That's the side-side angle case, where that angle is not in between the two sides. Okay. And so there's some other cases that we will talk about, side angle side and side side side, that will be used in the next section for the law of cosines, in case you're wondering where those other cases are. So for angle side angle, that's two angles in the included side, or two angles and a non-included side, and then two sides and a non-included angle, you will use the law of sines. Okay. So that's an overview of the law of sines, and then what I'm going to do is to break out examples of each case into separate videos.